This video is sponsored by DC and WB Games. I don't know if you heard, but there's a new Superman movie that's out. This Superman movie takes place with Superman already existing in the world. So I thought it would be kind of cool to go back and look at a classic Superman origin story. And it was given to us by the WB. This is how Superman the animated series begins. So Batman the Animated Series was obviously a huge success for Warner Brothers when it aired on Fox Kids Network, premiering back in 1992. In 1995, Warner Brothers got into the network TV game with their own network, the WB, which eventually launched its own block of cartoons known as Kids WB. Now, while some of the WB cartoons like Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, and Batman left Fox Kids Network to be put on the Kids WB block, it still needed some cartoons of its own. So that's how we got a Pinky and the Brain spinoff, the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, Freakazoid, Road Rovers, don't forget Road Rovers, or Wayne Head. But again, WB wanted to tap into how to make another successful superhero cartoon, and they were having their eyes on Superman because at the time, they were so sure they were going to be putting out a brand new live-action Superman movie, Superman Lives, starring Nicolas Cage. Obviously, the Nick Cage Superman movie never happened, but the cartoon did. But the cartoon had a little bit of a challenge coming out the gate. Not only did it have to be similar to Batman the Animated Series, but yet also be its own thing, it also had to distinguish itself from another Superman project that was out at the time, Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman, live-action Superman TV series that was airing on ABC. And the cartoon would be like, look, we different. We ain't doing what they doing. The WB, before it even started airing on Saturday mornings, they actually aired it in prime time as a pilot movie called The Last Son of Krypton. If you ever went to a video store or a Blockbuster, you might have seen it on VHS in the 90s or on DVD in the 2000s. So let's dive into this Superman animated origin story, but just like any cartoon, first, a commercial. Hey dude, wanna be a superhero? Wait dude, you can't fly like Superman. What are you doing? No dude, you can't see through walls. You don't have heat vision, dude. You can't melt that ice cream pop with your eyes. Hey dude, that's cheating. No, you don't have ice breath, but you do have bad breath, dude. Ew. Do you really want to be a superhero? Then all you gotta do is play DC Worlds Collide. DC Worlds Collide is a brand new free-to-play RPG fighting game. Grab your squad of characters from all different worlds in the DC universe. We're talking Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Catwoman, Batgirl, Green Arrow, King Shark, and other heroes, rogues, and renegades from the Justice League, the Crime Syndicate, Task Force X, Creature Commandos, and so many more characters and references for DC fans new and old. There's story modes with cutscenes, boss battles, bracket tournaments, and Victor's Arena. And of course, every character in this game has special attacks and abilities, which will make this game easy to play, but you're gonna have to think like a hero, or sometimes even a villain, to come up with the right strategies to master the game and earn victory in all those battles. And there's even characters based on the new Superman movie in this game. You can play as Guy Gardner Green Lantern, they got Mr. Terrific, cute little Crypto, and of course, the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Click the link in the description to download DC Worlds Collide, and after you download the game, use this special code that WB Games gave me to share with all of you. It gives you 100,000 coins in the game instantly. You'll feel as rich as Lex Luthor with all those coins. Have fun being a superhero in DC Worlds Collide. And thanks WB Games for sponsoring this video.
This is the
The three-part episode arc pretty much is a play-by-play of the classic Superman origin story. We start with baby Kal-El on Krypton being sent away by his parents before the planet is doomed for destruction. We get a young Clark Kent in Smallville learning about his powers and his history. And of course, we get an adult Clark Kent in disguise in the Daily Planet in Metropolis, working as a reporter while secretly saving the city as Superman. What's fascinating about the first episode of Superman is that the entire episode is dedicated to the fall of Krypton. There's no action scene from current Superman that then flashes back to this story. There's no regular episode that comes out first and then this is like a follow-up story we get later on. No, they start this thing at the very beginning with the fall of Krypton and baby Kal-El. We meet Father Jor-El, his wife Lara, And of course, baby Kal-El. We even get a little crypto cameo. But things aren't looking good for Jor-El because after doing a bunch of research of earthquakes, or should I say Krypton quakes, he believes that if the council doesn't come up with a plan soon, Krypton is going to be destroyed. Unfortunately, the council, including his father-in-law Solvan, don't want to listen to him because they are too busy trusting AI. This is where we meet Brainiac for the first time in this animated series, and it's very interesting because this is kind of a different origin story for Brainiac for this series that eventually gets used in the Superman comics. Kind of similar to how Batman the Animated Series created a different origin story for Mr. Freeze. You see, in the comics, Brainiac was usually just an intelligent being from another planet, but in this one, they actually make him an AI supercomputer that works for Krypton, collecting all the data from the Kryptonians, sometimes without their knowledge or consent, to come up with a bunch of different solutions for Kryptonians.
The Planetary Council demands that I analyze your data as soon as you obtain it.
You know, Brainiac, somewhere in all those trillions of file clusters, there's got to be one that says people don't like to be spied upon.
Then why did they create me?
A question I often ask myself.
And the council wants to believe anything that Brainiac says rather than listen to any logic from anyone else, such as Jor-El trying to tell them the planet is doomed. They don't want to listen to it because Brainiac is saying, nah, I think it's fine. It's just some polar shifts. You can trust me, I'm an AI supercomputer. I'm sure there is no lesson in this whatsoever. But it also doesn't help Jor-El's case that his way of trying to save the Kryptonians from this possible destruction is to put them all in the Phantom Zone. And the Kryptonian government is like, no, bro, that's where we put all the criminals that we put away from Krypton in that place. You want us to go in there? They'd be like, hey, I remember you put me in here. That could be a problem. And then on top of that, they try to throw it in Jor-El's face of like, man, the only reason why you staying hard on this is because you have an ego and you never want to act like you could never be wrong.
They even avoid him in the hallways. And do you know why?
Why's that, Solvan?
Because you can never be wrong, Jor-El. You can never let it go. You have an ego the size of Argos.
Wow. Hello, gas, meet light. They're also afraid that Jor-El's claims will scare the people without any actual evidence that they can prove that this is actually happening. So why even mention it if it's not gonna happen? Krypton change is real, y'all. But Jor-El still ain't buying Brainiac's claim. So after he puts a little riz on his lady, I see you, Jor-El.
All in all, I prefer your arms.
He goes does some more research of his own and finds out that Brainiac is hiding some files and data locked away that he doesn't want Jor-El to see.
Good evening, Jor-El. You've been busy tonight.
That's when Brainiac eventually becomes full Bond villain and lets Jor-El know that he absolutely is aware that Krypton is under the brink of destruction, but he don't care. He's actually moving himself to a remote satellite off planet to keep himself safe while the Kryptonians just gotta fend for themselves. Brainiac's like, I'm putting myself in the cloud, y'all on your own. Brainiac tries to reason with Jor-El that the reason he's doing this is to preserve Krypton's history. So even if they all get destroyed, the history of Krypton still remains. But when Jor-El's like, no, that's not cool, then Brainiac, of course, goes to the next idea, which is to frame Jor-El and say that he's a traitor and everyone should try to kill him on sight. I had to stop and show you this part because Jor-El just telling someone to shut up just made me laugh.
If you love your grandson and care one whit about his future, you'll kindly shut up.
I love a good shut up moment. And with moments left to spare, Jor-El pulls out a baby-sized spaceship to send Kal-El away. Jor-El, if you knew this was happening, why'd you make the spaceship only baby size? I mean, you got your wife, you got your father-in-law, you got other Kryptonians up in this piece, but you were just like, nah, I'm just gonna make a ship for my baby. Were only the baby spaceships for sale at the Krypton Home Depot? I'm just saying, man. And I love it. At one point, he's all like, Lara, you can go with them if you want.
Lara, I could send you with him. There's a risk, but if I have time to recalibrate the course...
I'm like, where's she gonna fit, bro? Where's she gonna hang on the passenger side? TLC no scrub style? Like, what's up? But they have to do it without Jor-El getting caught by the guard, so the father-in-law steps in, does a little bait and switch to help him out, which I thought was really cool. And I love that the guards go back to Brainiac and are like, we gotta find Jor-El. Brainiac, what do we do? And Brainiac's like, it don't matter no more.
They're requesting further instructions.
It doesn't matter anymore. Farewell, Krypton.
Y'all done. I'm in the cloud. Bye. So baby Kal-El flies away. And I thought at this point, we would just know that Krypton would be destroyed. Like maybe they would fade to black and you hear an explosion. You'd be like, I get it. And then we would just move on. Nah, this show was like, we gonna show you Krypton getting destroyed.
Not another one. No. The last one.
We're gonna show all the floors, ground breaking apart. We're gonna show you all the buildings coming down. There's one shot where I'm sure they showed a dude dying. Like there was a guy on a ledge or something like that. He was on a bridge and that thing crushed right in front of him. Man, they want you to really experience that Krypton is being destroyed. They want you to feel that.
Goodbye.
die, Kal-El.
I know Al from Melmac was watching like, man, this hurts. And then after they show all of that, they still go out to space and go, now let's watch the planet explode. Krypton explodes, baby Kal-El is flown away. Some mysterious green rocks fly behind them. I'm wondering if that's gonna come into play in the future. Some kryptonite maybe. And the episode ends right there. The episode ends on the planet being destroyed. Welcome to Superman the Animated Series, everybody. You having fun yet? In part 2, Kal-El drops on Earth and is found by John and Martha Kent. And I especially love this whole scene because John the entire time was not trying to claim that kid.
Whoa, Martha, what are you doing? Put that thing back. We don't know where it came from.
Martha's all like, ooh, who's this baby? Where'd it come from? And John's like, I don't know who that's from. That could be somebody's random kid. And then when they see that it's in the spaceship, he's like, that could be NASA. That could be Russia. We don't know. It ain't mine, though.
Who would put a baby in a spaceship?
That's just my point. Could be Russian. A Sputnik baby. You think NASA's missing a kid?
He was pulling a full Maury Povich on that kid going, that boy ain't mine. But of course, Martha's like, John, come on. We got to take care of this boy. He's out here all by himself, all alone. John gives in. They bring the boy home. And then it immediately cuts to a teenage Clark Kent. They're like, we're not gonna show you the whole childhood now. And basically part 2 is the animated pilot for Smallville. I'm wondering if Smallville watched this episode alone and was like, we can make 10 seasons out of that. Because we got teenage Clark Kent, he's in school, he's with Lana Lang. She even puts out an exposition that she's been his crush for so long.
Hey, it's Lana. You know, the girl who's had a crush on you since we were 3.
And we see Clark starting to discover his powers. He's able to see through walls. He's able to hear things from far away. He even stops a car crash that leads to a gas explosion, saving a child while walking through the fire, Terminator style. Dun, 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 dun. And he also sounds a lot like Max Goof.
It's not a joke, Lana. I'm going through a bad time. I thought if anybody understood me.
Is Clark Kent going to the Powerline concert?
I don't know.
So when Clark, after seeing through walls, hearing things from far away, stopping car crashes, explosions, walking through fire, having super strength, goes back to his parents and are like, Mom, Dad, I think there's something different about me. John finally has to talk. They show him the spaceship. They find this Atari cartridge that has a history of Clark's parents, or Kal-El's parents. And that's when Clark learns he's not from Kansas anymore. He is definitely from an alien planet brought to Earth, and it freaks him out because this is the 90s and you never want to be different or unique in the 90s. It was all about following trends. Because if you didn't, you were weird and you were a freak and you were picked on every day in school, and this is not about me. But yet Clark did not want to have all these powers until he jumped over a cliff right in front of the moon, E.T. style. And then started flying around like he's Peter Pan. And then he was like, you know what? I can roll with this. And then the episode jumps again. Now we get adult Clark Kent. He's living in Metropolis and he works for the Daily Planet. It's his first day. And that's when we get introduced to Lois Lane. And this is probably one of my favorite Lois Lanes. She's got that attitude, that spunk. She has a great rapport back and forth with Clark. You know what it is? She gives me April O'Neil. She gives me freaking Channel 6 April O'Neil. That's why I like her. We're also introduced to Perry White and Jamie Olsen, who for some reason keeps reminding me of Archie from Archie's Weird Mysteries. Don't they look like they the same dude? We also get some really cool voice cast. Tim Daly from Wings voices the adult Clark Kent. Dana Delaney is Lois Lane. And Lois is not having this Superman business. There's been some reports in the Daily Planet about Superman, but she's like, this is all make-believe, this is a hoax. And also, why you keep bumping my stories where I'm basically uncovering underground gun smuggling ring criminals in the city. I'm catching them doing their dirty business, and you up there on the front page with some guy in tights saving kittens and girls from buildings.
I was fooling around the window when I lost my balance and fell. Suddenly, this big blue angel with red wings came down and caught me.
Randomly, at some point, Superman just saves this little black girl. I thought it was really cute. But when she's arguing to Perry White, Perry's like, look, Lois, 1, you need to calm down, and 2, you about to work with a partner because we got a new reporter here at the Daily Planet. And Lois's first question is
he cute?
Is he cute? It's the 90s, baby! And that's when we get the beginning of that Lois and Clark back and forth. That is a really good part of this series. Lois gives Clark a little bit, always calling him Smallville. Clark gives a little bit back to Lois as well. You can tell the chemistry is there. They're playing around with it. And of course, it's only going to get crazier when Lois eventually meets Superman herself. Even though she technically already met him, but in disguise, you know what I mean. But now it's time to meet Superman's other will they, won't they, Lex Luthor. We get to meet Lex Luthor in this episode, And before we even start talking about Lex Luthor, I gotta say, when I was young and I saw the Superman show for the first time, and I saw Lex Luthor, my immediate thought was, is this Lex Luthor black? I really thought this was Lex Luthor in this show, man. But it turns out that Lex Luthor's design in this series was based after Greek actor Telly Savalas. He had like very distinct features, so they gave those similar features to Lex. So, okay, fine. But I don't know, in my head canon, this is Lex Luthor, okay? And in a way that kind of makes sense, because it's just like, man, I've been working hard, making this money, doing everything I can to be rich and famous, and this dude out of nowhere, this all-American, but not from America, Superman, just gonna show up and get all the attention in front of Lex with no money? I ain't having that.
I view the Lexo suit not as an instrument of war, but as an instrument to end war.
I love this Lex Luthor. And he's voiced by Clancy Brown. On top of that, Lex Luthor is Mr. Krabs. They both like money. money. So Lex has this press conference where he's showing off the Lexo Suit 5000. It's a new military weapon because he feels we shouldn't be relying on Supermen, but instead should be relying on good old-fashioned American technology from a corrupt businessman. But his presentation gets interrupted by some terrorist threats. Why did I do it like that? But yeah, these folks come in and try to steal the suits and the blueprints to make more suits. So this is when Clark has to go away and open that shirt up, baby. You know how it is. Lois is in the middle of the fight. Something's about to fall on her. And then Superman swoops in, grabs it, saves her just in time. And we get that first perfect quintessential Superman shot with Lois seeing him for the first time face to face. Beautiful, baby. And you get that music coming into it. Oh, it's so good. Man, them 90s cartoons hit hard, baby. Superman going off fighting these pilots, knocking them out of their planes. But of course, it's cartoons. So they have to have that get by the censors cartoon parachute that always let you know they landed safely. My favorite part of this episode, one of them shoots a missile at Superman, starts following him. Superman dodges the missile. The missile hits a nearby airplane in the sky, hits the plane is going down, and the episode ends. The first episode ends with the planet exploding. The second episode ends with a plane heading towards the ground. This show was not messing around. They're like, we're gonna make sure you tune in for the next one. Now, do you see why 90s kids have so much anxiety when they're growing up? Because they did stuff like this to us. But obviously in the next episode, Superman comes to save the day. I do like that he messed up a couple of times and went, oh, nice one, Clark.
Nice one, Clark.
I thought that was a nice, genuine moment, you know? It's nice to see an imperfect, perfect specimen. But Superman, of course, grabs the plane, glides it between buildings so that no one gets hurt, and he's even able to stop it on a on a dime. While all this action is happening, Daily Planet is able to get some really good pics of Superman, which leads to a hilarious little, I see what you did there joke from Lois Lane when she looks at Superman's photo and goes,
nice S.
Excuse me?
Right here.
Nice S. You can tell some of these people worked on Animaniacs. Yeah, fingerprints. But even though Superman saved the day, he's starting to worry if all this attention being put on him will start to create fears for people seeing this alien being coming in with all these powers. But John and Martha Kent actually give some good advice to Superman. They say, why don't you go out there, get an interview yourself, get some press done for your own, to confront those fears before they even show up. They won't make any assumptions about you and that you're here to do good, unlike, as Martha puts it,
it wouldn't be bad if people knew a little more about Superman. I don't want anyone thinking you're like that nut in Gotham City.
That nut from Gotham City. I love that was a nice little obvious reference to Batman and a little inkling to let you know that Superman and Batman might take place in the same universe. So Superman agrees to do an interview with Lois Lane, but of course Lois is going to ask those tough questions because she doesn't feel like somebody like Superman can just show up and do all these good things without some ulterior motive, and Superman has to defend himself.
All I ask is that you tell the truth about me.
And that is?
I'm not here to scare anyone. In fact, I've always tried to help people whenever possible.
You sound too good to be true. What's your secret?
I'm not trying to give anything away, but I'm just going to say, if you see the new Superman movie, keep this scene in mind. Not saying that's exactly what you're going to see on screen. I'm just saying there might have been some inspiration. So Clark Kent and Lois Lane go off to interview Lex Luthor. Lois also drops a little bit of lore that she used to date Lex Luthor. Ooh, scandalocious. And Lex is not really all that upset about his suit getting stolen. He's more upset that Superman is getting all this press about the event.
Well, well, an alien in my own backyard. And such a civic-minded one, too. Well, that's just dandy, Lois. All I know is your hero did nothing to help me.
He's like, well, this Superman, he ain't that big of a deal. If he was so big of a deal, why didn't he stop these terrorists from taking my suit? He ain't all that great. That's why you need me. But Lex is still trying to be all like, oh, boo-hoo, my suit got taken, boo-hoo. But Clark's like, I ain't buying this. Something ain't right here.
Now that the terrorists have your prototype, the Pentagon is undoubtedly going to want you to build a bigger and better version for them. When all is said and done, this could net you a multi-billion-dollar windfall.
He even tells Lex to his face, he's like, I don't know, Lex, seems like your suit being taken might be an advantage for you because if some other country got your suit out there, it might persuade the US government to come to you to make bigger, stronger suits to protect themselves. And Lex is like, who told you? I mean, what are you talking about? That's stupid. You stupid. Shut up, get out my face. Whew. Good one, Lex. They'll never know.
Lois, it almost sounds as if your friend here is suggesting I should be glad my suit was stolen. You're very amusing, Mr. Kent, is it? Yes, I'll remember that.
Clark's intuition, Jimmy Olsen's photos revealing Lex has been talking to another country, Cosnia, and Lois Lane doing some snooping of her own, talking to Bilbo, not Bilbo, Bibbo. Bilbo is from Lord of the Rings. Bibbo, a sea captain who looks like a cross between Popeye and Bluto.
Blasted scows leaving port tonight, and I says good riddance.
From all this investigation, they find out that Lex does have a little bit of a sinister plan going. You see, the United States has a trade embargo with Cosnia because they're like, Cosnia, you're doing some slippery things on the side. You might got some terrorist people up in there, so we can't do trades with you. Lex was planning on, selling his military wherever he could to anyone he could. He can't sell to Cosnia because of the trade embargo, but the US doesn't want to buy it either because they feel like them buying it might look like a threat to other countries or even their allies. So Lex is stuck. He can't sell to anybody. So he figures he goes under the table, gets Cosnia to buy some of the suits from him without telling anybody. Then they send people out to steal his suits that they paid for. So then that makes the US go, oh, they got suits. Well, we need suits too. And then they go to Lex and Lex sells suits to the US and then he's profiting off of both countries. I'm not trying to give anything away here, but if you go see the Superman movie, you might want to keep this scene in mind. Not saying that's exactly what you're gonna see on screen. I'm just saying there might have been some inspiration. John Corbin, who works for Lex, is manning the boat that has the suits on there. Lois Lane goes to check it out, and John's like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no suits here. And then some dummy right behind him opens the door wide open with the suit just standing there like, hey. So of course, John Corbin's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to kill you, Lois Lane. That's just how it works. You know too much. But of course, before that bullet even gets close to Lois Lane, Superman comes in to save Lois Lane and save the day. But not before getting his butt kicked several times by John Corbin in this Lexo suit. I love that this show constantly is like, Superman's gonna win. He's gonna save the day. You know this. But he's still gonna get his butt kicked. You still gonna see him get hurt a lot. He wins, but eventually. But of course, Superman breaks that suit apart, gets John Corbin out of it. And my favorite part is at the end of the fight, when John Corbin's out the suit, Superman comes up to him and goes,
shall we go a few rounds without the suit?
I love a sassy Superman. Superman gets even more sassy, paying Lex Luthor a visit and just staring him down, giving him the silent treatment, not saying anything. Lex is like, hey man, what's going on? I heard you stop that guy. Wow, that's amazing. I know nothing about that. Hey, by the way, let me do a business deal with you. My brains, your brawn, we can work together and take over this whole world. I don't want to just own Metropolis. I want to own everything, and you can help me. What do you say? Superman's just like,
being with your abilities could be very useful to me on a global scale. Why don't you float on in and we'll discuss it?
Say something!
I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Lex is like, Superman! Our rivalry begins! And that's how the Superman show ends. Nope, not yet. We got an after credit scene. Yeah, that's right. They did those back in the 90s too, So these aliens are flying around in a spaceship in space and they come across a satellite They bring it in, and that satellite gets tentacles coming out of it, starts attacking all of them, taking their form basically, and then takes over the ship and flies away. Yes, that's Brainiac. Remember when Brainiac said he sent himself to a remote satellite off planet? Because we're probably going to see him later.
Brainiac systems activated.
They're loco, they're Coco, and the Brainiac. That's how Superman the Animated Series begins. What a great beginning to this show. Definitely got me hooked. After I watched these 3 episodes, I actually watched a couple after it because I was just so enthralled about what was going to happen next. And I'm definitely looking forward to possibly watching all of these episodes, because what's cool about this show is that it starts off being just a Superman show, but then eventually Superman and Batman used to share a block of time on the Kids WB. And eventually Superman started to cross over a little bit. There was an episode with the Flash, one with Green Lantern, one with Aquaman, and of course the very famous Batman Superman movie, which was a 3-part episode where Superman from the Superman animated series and Batman from the Batman animated series meet up when Lex Luthor and Joker team up. That could be a video all on its own. That's my Batman v Superman, those 3 episodes. And of course, seeing all these cameos from DC characters would be what would eventually lead us to a Justice League animated series, which starts Superman, Batman, and a bunch of other DC heroes and villains that aired on Cartoon Network. But it's nice to know that this is where all that kind of began. Batman the Animated Series was kind of like the start of this DC animated world. Superman was kind of the bridge that brought it together to eventually get us to Justice League. So I feel like that the proper respect for Superman the Animated Series is due. I know a lot of people definitely know about this series, but I think it's worth discussing it just a little bit more. And it's especially worth noting about its origin story, because if you're going to any Superman movie, whether it's the live action movie, some of the DC animated movies, or anything like that, where you're already seeing Superman in existence, the Last Son of Krypton first 3 episodes of Superman the Animated Series is a really nice origin story to let you know what Superman is all about from the beginning. So are you going to watch Superman the Animated Series, or did you watch it back in the day? Do you have any favorite episodes from that series that you would recommend to anyone who's new to the series or wants to revisit it again? And if there's any other TV show out there that you feel like has a really good pilot, a really good first set of episodes to really show you what the show is all about, please feel free to recommend them to me. I might check out some more in the future. I love you like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000. Thanks again to DC Worlds Collide for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description to download the game and use the special code to get 100,000 coins in game.